Hey, you're listening to the Coffee O'Clock podcast, the show that brings you joy and inspiration, with special guests from all around the world who have an amazing story and expertise to evolve your personal and professional life. I am your host, Burcu ONARANEL, the founder of Joy Marketing and Coaching. Make sure you grab your coffee and get ready to explore new ideas. Let's get started. I'm going to introduce her shortly, and she will tell more about herself and what she does. So she is an associate marriage and family therapist and marriage coach. And today we will talk about everything and anything about couples and how you can develop your positive relationship. And her goal is to improve communication and connection. What a great mission and role you do, Bridgette. I am so excited to talk to you about everything about human relationships. We need this. Welcome to the show. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. I'm doing well. Happy to share this information. I love working with couples, and I'm doing great.
Perfect. My very first question, my curiosity, and I'm sure our audience too, how did you find your mission and how did you start working with couples?
Well, I always preferred working with couples, but then I started with a practice that catered to neurodiverse couples. So most of the people then that I worked with were couples, and they were either neurotypical or neurodiverse. Neurodiversity affects 1 out of 5 people, and most adults don't realize that they have it. And neurodiversity way that their brain works. And so these are people who we've usually felt a little out of step, usually always connect emotionally the way other people do. And people will even say they lack empathy. I don't feel anybody lacks empathy. I think that that skill has not been developed in them. And so we work on developing that skill. But that taught me that whether it's neurotypical or neurodiverse couples, I just like working with couples because most of the time the problem is really around communication, that they don't communicate in a way that they each understand, which drives them apart.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about communication. We live with our words, and that leads by our neurons, but we don't know how to use it, and we don't recognize sometimes how easy to solve a simple problem we have, mostly in couples. You touched a little bit, but I am curious, what is neurodiversity? Can you share more about it?
Neurodiversity affects people with ADHD, Tourette's. The autism spectrum also goes from one end to the other. It's huge. So a lot of people are very high functioning, surgeons, dentists, engineers, a lot of IT people. They're very high functioning, but they have neurodiversity. So the way that they're hearing things and seeing things, it's difficult for them to relate to what we as neurotypical people are saying to them. And so I give this example often. I had a couple who was going to see me in a few hours. When they came in, she was furious and he was confused. And she said that she had been sitting on the couch crying, and he came in and asked her, "Where's the dog food?" Saw that she was crying and said, "Where's the dog food?" And he fed the dog. Now she's furious because he offered her no comfort. He's confused because his comfort was he saw his wife was crying. He knows it's time for her to feed the dog. He wants to take that off of her plate. So whatever she's going through, she can experience without worrying about the dog. Neurodiverse people tend to be task oriented. So he wanted to take care of that task for her. But that's not neurotypical. Women, we don't operate like that. We want comfort. We want care. He felt he had given it, but because their brains work differently, they're missing the mark with each other. So one is angry and the other is confused. And if
Mhm.
they hadn't been in therapy, they probably would have walked around like that for days, where
Yes.
I can point out, no, this is what's going on.
So there are two types of neurodiversity and neurotypical. Neurotypical,
Mhm.
mostly for women, or mostly woman experiences. Is that correct or not?
No, neurotypical are just people without neurodiversity.
Okay.
That's just 1 out of 5 experiences some form of neurodiversity. They're the other 4 in that group.
Okay. Now I learned that I am neurotypical, because I would be
Mhm,
furious too. If I cry and my husband comes and talks to me about something else, I would be like, "What?" Just ask me,
mhm,
what am I doing? But now I understand that it's not about it. He doesn't care. He's just focused on another thing. Still, the goal is
mhm.
comforting her, but he is not telling her, "Come sit on my shoulder." He is just trying to take care of other tasks. Wow, great. And you do this coaching for couples. Have you ever had an experience where they felt like, wow, you probably have this a lot, like, oh, that's why this happened, or that's why I'm acting this way. Can you share one of the best aha moments from your clients, either from a guy or a woman, when they had that aha moment?
Well, I had a couple that where the wife simply said, "Now I realize he's not trying to drive me crazy." Because that's what she had been feeling within 11 years of marriage, that he was doing this intentionally and he was trying to drive her crazy on some level. And so once we began to talk about, and he had been recently diagnosed. And so once we began to talk about it, then she realized, we looked at certain incidents that had bothered her from his point of view and from her point of view. And she realized, she began to get it. Oh, this is his brain works differently. Yes, his brain works very differently. No, he's not trying to drive you crazy. And for her, that made a big difference, because then she could allow herself to feel he cared. Because it's hard to imagine someone cares for you if you believe they're trying to drive you crazy.
It is
So
very,
that was a big aha moment.
and this just mirror me something that I experienced with my husband. We are newly married, and sometimes I don't understand why he's doing what he's doing. But having you said that, I had a couple of aha moments in my mind already. It's amazing how people are coming from love, but when you are in a different neuro mirror, kind of like you're seeing things in a different way and understanding in a different way, you don't realize that they are also coming from love. Do you have any practices that you give to your clients, or you can tell to our audience that they can practice to maybe see things differently or improve their
So
communications?
I tell this to my couples who are neurodiverse, and when there's no neurodiversity in the marriage, they're both neurotypical.
Mm,
The key is engagement and curiosity. So when people do something that make you feel a certain way, instead of just going to that feeling, how about asking them why? What did that mean? What were
mm,
your intentions? And you'll often find the person wasn't doing it in a way that was to aggravate you, spite you, that they didn't care about you. Their point of view was just a little bit different. So asking, what were your intentions when you said that to me? What did you want? It's just that constant curiosity where we're asking in a nice, calm voice, what is this about? And
mm.
that allows you to better understand your partner.
Have you, well, probably you have, used this in your own marriage, or if your kids are married? I'm not sure if they are.
I,
Use
I'm
it.
not married, but I
Oh,
use it in my relationships all the time. My
mm,
daughter is neurodiverse. And
mm,
so our brains and a teenager. So our brains just often don't meet. And
Mhm.
so I ask those clarifying questions like, why did you do that, or what did that mean, or your voice is not sounding as warm, and we always say warm and welcoming. So she'll tell me that too. Sometimes your voice isn't very warm and welcoming right now. And so that's important that we can use that with each other. Now, for my daughter, I tell people my big aha with her has been she puts the cap back on things, but she doesn't close it. And so
Mhm.
that meant for a while, I had bleach on my clothes sometime. I had cleaning products that would get on my clothes because you pick it up, you think the top's on it. It is on it. It's that everybody twists the top after they put it. I've turned salt over and my food was ruined. And then I realized this. She's not doing it to drive me crazy. Something in her brain
Mhm.
allows her to put the top on, but not twist it. And so I gave up on that. And I said, I need to check. So when I go to pick something up, I make sure the cap is closed. And so that's the way that you balance it out. Some things, something in their brain just isn't allowed. And if you ask her, she'll say, I always think I put the cap on and I twist it, but she doesn't.
Mm.
And so that's how I use it in my relationships too, with friends, with romantic partners, asking lots of questions.
So instead of getting angry or upset about whatever the issue is, just simply we can ask what
Hmm.
the intention was or why he or she did that to us.
Hmm.
And we can find easily that sometimes, most of the times, it's not coming from anger or
Hmm.
from negativity. It's mostly coming from love and
Hmm.
good intentions. But we forget this as humans, especially in this century. It's everything is so fast and changing, and we are on the go and we never stop. We are always like, why did you do that? I need to do this, I'm in a hurry. We are so easily getting caught up with these chaotic relationships,
Hmm.
fights, and arguments, and we hurt each other sometimes without knowing where they're coming from. I think what you do is mirroring people and coaching people in this communication in their relationship is so critic and super important because
Hmm.
we don't do it. Like I experience it with my parents too, or in their relationship. I see the problem. They are not communicating well, or they're not asking questions each other. They just feel upset or they just feel angry, like you said. So I'm curious how people find you though. How people find you and how people decide to come to you. I think that's very important too.
Well, they find me on my website, which is neurodiverseempowerment.com. And also email me at bridgetgreen@gmail.com. And a lot of it is referrals. So I'll have people, I always ask, like, how did you find me? Oh, on Psychology Today, or my wife sees somebody that knows you, things like
Mhm.
that. So that's how people are finding me, is either through neurodiverseempowerment.com or bridgetgreen@gmail.com.
I think people around you, especially your daughter, are so lucky because you have this awareness and skills to see things differently and teach them, show them how to communicate better. And you are in Los Angeles, correct?
I'm in Los Angeles. Hmm.
Yes. And tell us more. I know you're doing some other amazing work. Tell us what you do to make an awareness in people's life.
Well, I speak in certain areas just to let people know. A lot of people don't know about neurodiversity. So they're
Yes.
struggling in their marriages, their children are perhaps struggling. And so when you give this speak somewhere, I'll always have people come up and say, that sounds exactly like my husband or my son or my grandson. And then I can direct them. Children, I say, must be tested. You must have children tested. Adults often don't want to be tested. And so I say to them, okay, then don't, we'll work on signs and symptoms, because they don't want the label, or they, just as older people, we sometimes just don't want it. But your child must be tested. And so that's the way people find me. That's, how I connect with people, or just through friends. Somebody's describing how their marriage isn't working, and they'll say, oh, I have a friend and she works with neurodiversity and neurotypical couples, so you should give her a call. She does a lot of couples counseling. And so that's how a lot of my referrals come in. And then I give a free 15-minute consultation. I tell people this all the time: whether you're working with a coach or a therapist, it is important that you have that consultation. It is important that you talk about your concerns and goals, and that you ask that person that's going to be assisting you questions about themselves too. Don't just find a name, make an appointment, and say, that's it, I'm going with them. And
Mm.
if you don't connect, that's okay. Looking for a therapist or a coach is like dating. You don't just stop dating if you have a bad date. So if you have someone that doesn't work out, as for me, I will refer you to somebody else. If you say, Bridgette, look, I don't feel it with you. Okay, that's fine. I'll give you a few names. Try these people. It might work out. A good therapist, a good coach will not be angry. They will try and help you
Yeah.
find someone that you can work with. So don't give up. If you say, because I have a lot of people who come to me who'll say, well, we tried marriage counseling or marriage coaching 5 years ago, and it was a terrible experience. And so they just shut down on that. But don't shut down. Keep working until you find somebody who works with you well.
Thank you so much for touching this. It is very important. And there's enough to go around too. Like there are so many great people, and energy is so important. That's what I do for especially this podcast as well. Not just my clients, but for the podcast. I don't
Mhm.
just give people the link to, okay, we're recording an episode too because you're a coach and a speaker. I want you. No, I have a pre-call with
Mhm.
all of my guests, and I study their past background, whatever they put on the folder, Google folder, and then I meet and then I schedule, because if our energy don't match, then I cannot be a good service for you to reach my audience, and maybe you don't like me and my audience, so it's not gonna help you and
Mhm.
anyone who listen to this. So it's so important. Please, whoever listening or watching us, because this is going to be on YouTube too, please, if you have tried something, don't give up. Like Bridget said, ask for another referral or find somebody that can help you to solve your problem, because that's the only way. You need to, if you want to solve your problem, your relationship issue, you have to find a therapist, coach, somebody that can guide you to find the light in your relationship. Don't just say it doesn't work. And it's unfortunate because there are so many coaches out there. It's great, and also it's not great because you don't know what education or background they have. You just see the word coach and you're like, okay, they should be an expert, but not everyone knows what they do. So
Yeah.
please do your research, ask your people, and if you are a couple considering reaching out a marriage coach or relationship coach, I can refer Bridget to you from our connection already. I feel you know what you do and you have this amazing, even if you don't know anything, I feel better when I have your presence. You know, you have this presence that make people feel calmer, and that's what I feel. I
Thank
I do,
you.
I do Reiki as well, so I can feel people's energy. My hands are very warm right now because I feel your energy. You are on a mission, you are doing what you're meant to do. in this
Mhm.
life, and you're making an impact. And you are in my second home, Los Angeles. So that's another connection that I love. I want to ask you, Bridget, you already shared what you do, why you do, but tell me, when you wake up every single day, what drives you to do what you do? What motivates you every day?
You know, I have a lot of couples that come in and they've been married 25 and 30 years. So here's my motivation. I don't want people to waste all those years. I mean, we don't get those years back. And
Mhm.
they've been unhappy with each other, struggling with each other. And so my motivation is this: we only have a certain amount of time here. And we've chosen somebody and we've decided we love them and we want to be with them. That's why you're coming for the help, because you actually want to make it work with this person. And
Yes.
my goal, what drives me, is to give you some skills so that you can have a happy, productive life together. You've chosen this person, and instead of walking around for 20 years not speaking to each other, no physical intimacy. I have couples who literally for 20 years, there's been no physical intimacy. That can't feel good. So let's work to correcting that so that it can begin to feel good to you and you can connect with your partner. That's what really is my driving force.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for doing that. It's an amazing work to do. And you said something very important. You said this, you're coming to me because you want to work it out. You want to figure it out, your relationship. That's huge too. Because
Mhm.
sometimes people don't even know what that means. It means you really love your partner and you don't want to lose them. If you
Mhm.
wanted to lose, you would have just, go get
Left.
divorced and just break up. You wouldn't search for a coach to make it work. So please pay attention to what you do. It's a great awareness right there. Bridget, I can't say enough thank to you for sharing what you do today. And you already shared how people can reach out to you, but I want you to tell also if you have any upcoming events, speaking engagements, or any calls, freebies, you're offering something. If you have anything coming up or last sentences for our audience, I would love to hear those.
Well, what I will say to you is I am developing a children's book. I'm writing a children's book right now so that teachers and people in children's lives who have neurodiversity can share it with the other children in this child's life to better explain some of their behaviors. I will say that I am accepting new clients, and I ask you to come in. And I always say this to people: any marriage can be saved if both people are willing to work. So don't give up any marriage. I don't care if there's an affair, whatever. You can save that marriage if you both want to do it. So if you and your partner are saying to each other, this is what we want to connect. Connection is the most, you have to communicate to connect. You don't connect with people you don't communicate with. So connection is what keeps you together. Communication is what keeps you together. And so I just invite people to come in and let's start working together.
Awesome. And you work online as well, right?
Yes, everything is online.
Okay, perfect.
Everything is online. Yeah. Mhm.
Because that is huge. I think that's the best gift the pandemic gave us.
Yes, it
Best.
is. It is.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
started then connecting with the world. We had that power before, but we didn't know we can use. But with the pandemic, we are connecting with the world more, and
Mhm.
that's just amazing to me. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your light with us. And I hope our audience will take the best out of this episode and reach out to you. Please share your website and email again. I will put it on the show as well.
It's neurodiverseempowerment.com, neurodiverseempowerment.com, and Bridget Green Therapy at gmail.com.
Perfect. Make sure you reach out to Bridget and save your relationship, people. Until next time, Cheers to you. And Bridgette, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and now you can apply it to your life. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the Coffee O'Clock podcast on Apple and leave us a review. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you feel like someone needs to listen to this episode, share it on your social media or text the link to that person to make an impact in their life. Be sure to tune in every Monday for new episodes. You can also watch the episodes and find more inspiration on my Instagram, which is at JOYYBURCU. Until next time, make sure to spend some time with you and stay with joy.